we as therapists, we can't never bring up the higher power. We can't bring up their name or anything, because that means that we are now infringing our personal bias on you. But baby, if you bring up Jesus Christ in the word and this is what you want and need, that's all we waiting for. We waiting for you to bring it up. We can't bring it up on our own. And if you don't never bring it up, we can't. But as soon as you bring it up, we're going to incorporate whatever you need in that, and we will put it in there. Baby, if you go home and put yourself in timeout, if you're not having a good day, don't you go mess up somebody else's day. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the kitchen table, where we are focusing on mental health and parenting. And so last week was my first podcast. And so we started off on mental health and letting you know the difference between mental health and mental illness. And hopefully my focus was to get you guys to start having conversations, get you to go and investigate and research on mental health, and just kind of give you some clear understanding of what it looks like. And so I hope you guys enjoyed it. So this week, what we are going to be focusing on is steps you can take to getting help. And why is this one is so important? Many people delay getting help because they don't understand or because they just really scared. So I think that if I break it down for you guys in a most, manageable way, to, taking those steps, and giving you just the outlook on what that looks like, and helping you process that, I think that that will help. I do want to let you know that therapy is just not for somebody that's in a crisis. Look at it this way. Like when you get sick, you go to the doctor. If you have a headache, if you have a cold, is something not feeling right about your body, you go to a doctor to go get help. So you want to see, one, what is it? If it's anything, what is it? What can we do to help it, to cure it, to manage it, or whatever? And so the doctor is going to be there to prescribe you medication, tell you different things that you need to do. And in some instances, you might have to go see a specialist or whatever. But what I'm trying to get you to see is that you are not ignoring the fact that there is something going on with you physically. That is important for you to do the same thing with your mental health too. I want everybody to start looking at their mental health like you do your physical health. We got to get to a point where we're going to do that, because once again, it impacts our whole being. It impacts us and the people that are close to us. So, um, what does it look like? What are those steps to take? The first thing that you have to do is recognize the signs, and you have to recognize that you do need help. And so, some of the common signs that you may need support, once again, is being constantly sad, hopelessness, and just having all different type of mood swings, like being agitated, irritable. You wake up, and some of you guys who are married have partners, y'all living together, and you just woke up and he or she may have just said good morning, honey, and you looking like, what the, like, and they jumping back like, whoa, what's going on? If that's happening a lot, okay, yeah, you need to go get some help. Now, for us women, I know sometimes when we on that monthly cycle, we got zero tolerance. Everything make us mad and angry. So you got to make sure, that you processing all of that. And what I like to tell us women is that you always want to tell your partner, your husband, whoever he, she, hey, me, baby, you always want to tell them, look, like, hey, I'm getting ready to start my cycle. So my emotions and stuff is going to be everywhere. My tolerance for my tolerance for BS is zero. I'm gonna have a short tolerance. You gotta prepare them for it, y'all. Y'all don't wanna, throw them out there because, 7 days, and after 7 days, you wanna pop up the next morning and like everything is good. Like, no, you just brutalize this person verbally, some of us physically and mentally for 7 days because you was off balance because, what they call it, Ain't Flo was visiting you, and that's not fair to them. But outside of those conditions, if your mood swings are just being different and they being persistent and they're actually impacting your relationship, whether it's your marriage, your, whoever you in a romantic ship with, whether it's your friends, whether it's your family and parents, your kids, then those are telltale signs that you do want to go and get help. If you're feeling overwhelmed and you unable to manage the stresses of life and you feel like you're losing control or have no control, that's another sign. Changes in your sleep pattern. Are you sleeping too much? Are you sleeping too little? Are you having a hard time going to sleep and staying asleep? Or you don't have a problem going to sleep, but you're not sleeping longer and you're up for a long time. That is a real major sign too. Difficult focusing and making decisions. So if you're having a hard time just staying focused, just on normal daily tasks like um taking care of yourself, good hygienes and stuff, and making sure things is done, in your house and cleaning and stuff. I know some of y'all not know housekeepers, so hey, to each is their own. That wouldn't be a sign for you if you're not, is that's just not your thing. You like living, just keeping the house straight and not cleaning. That's not a sign for you, okay? But for others, if you so used to being on this routine and you cleaning up daily and straightening up and you got this done and this done and it's impacting and you can't do it, not wanting to go out, not wanting to go hang out with your friends and go to your normal things, those are telltale signs. And avoiding social situations or withdrawing from your loved ones. You find yourself isolating yourself or being isolated. That's another big red flag. And just having some unexplained physical symptoms, such as a headache or being tired. You remember last time I talked, I said mental health impacts your physical health, and physical health impacts your mental health. Well, when mental health is impacting your physical health and you having these ailments and you going to the doctor, and the doctor can't figure nothing out and they didn't ran every test and nothing coming back positive, is more mental than it is physical, but now it's impacting your physical health. And we will talk about that in a later podcast about how everybody, all our organs, there is a feeling attached to it. There is a feeling attached to every organ. And whatever that feeling is, it is going to either have a negative or positive impact on that organ, which now impacts your health. So I don't want you guys to take my word for it. I want you to go and do some research and then come back with some questions so we can do a Q&A session and we can answer those questions to get some clarification on that. Um, so let me see. Normalizing seeking help. Therapy isn't just for severe mental illness, it's also for everyday stressors, relationship challenges, and improving your self awareness. So, a lot of times, I will have clients to come, and one of their things for them coming is I'm gonna tell you what get most people quick, fast, in a hurry to go see in a counselor when they having trouble in their marriage, or you may not be married, but you having trouble in your romantic relationship with your significant other ones that y'all have built a life with. Soon as you start having problems in that area, oh yeah, yeah, they come quick, fast, and hairy. One of the things with that, I'm going to say this: you can come to therapy for what's going on, and that's good. Like, I'm having this issue and I'm having this crisis going on. So for people who are mentally healthy, we just going to focus on that. because you're real good. You take care of your mental health. And so you kind of balance. And this particular stressor or this particular situation is just kind of getting you off balance. So you need a little help with that. Good. But for people who has never, ever, ever in their life been to therapy and have always had challenging relationships, whether it was romantic, friendship, familyship, workship, or any of that, all of your life and most of half of your life, there has been some type of negative impact. And now, because of this relationship and this person that's important to you, things not going right. So now I am now going to go and find a therapist. I'm just gonna just tell you the truth. If you coming to me, we not talking about what's going on. While we may at the beginning, you gonna need to get to the root of it. And it's bigger than just the situation because this been a cycle of your life of having these challenges and all these relationships, different relationships. So it's just bigger than what the issue is. There's a lot going on with you that needs to be fixed for you to be your best you, to show up for yourself first in order for you to show up for others. So the work is going to be a little bit, you have to dig a little bit deeper than surface in order to fix what need to be fixed. And when you're coming, you're not coming for somebody else. It should always be because this is what you want. Because if you're coming for somebody else and you're doing it for somebody else, you're not going to get help because as soon as that somebody else make you mad, piss you off or whatever, the first thing you're gonna do is, I did this for you, and this, that, next to the third. And you throwing it up in their face, and you back where you were in the beginning. So it should always be for yourself and no and not for everybody else because you want to be your best you. Uh I'm I'm gonna try not to go down no rabbit trail, okay? Um, Taking care of mental health is a sign of strength, not weakness. Everyone deserves support. So, steps to take when seeking your mental health. The first thing you're going to do is reflect on your needs and your goals. What is it that you need? What is it that you want? And what are your goals? Now, remember, needs and wants is not the is not the same thing. So the first thing that you want really need to focus on is your need. What is it that you need? Um, what are your hopes for to achieve in therapy? In other words, are you wanting to managing your stress? Are you wanting to navigating grief because you had a lot of losses? And it does not necessarily mean death. There can be like literally death. There can be death in a relationship, but neither one of y'all are dead. It could be death to a job. You lost a job. You're going through a transition. You done lost some friendships or different stuff like that. People not necessarily literally died. You lost your mortgage, you lost your home. Look at the fires in California going on. They have experienced a lot of loss. And even though I know for some of them it's tangible loss, it still is a loss. And you still need to go through the grieving process. And everybody doesn't grieve the same. And everybody grief doesn't look the same. And that's okay. It doesn't have to, and it's not supposed to because we all have different backgrounds. Um, what are some other things? Improving your communication, processing trauma, or building confidence in yourself. I will say this: when you processing trauma, most trauma starts in childhood. For one, if you don't have confidence in yourself and you don't have a healthy self esteem, that starts in childhood. And so getting to the root cause of that and pulling those roots up so you can plant new seeds, it's going to be a process. So even with you figuring out what steps that need to be taken to get you some help, the one thing that I'm probably going to say until I'm blue in the face, black in the face, that you guys probably going to get tired of, but I don't care. No therapists have a magic wand that's going to say poof and everything gonna be good and perfect. It's just not gonna happen. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. When I say it's a lot of work, that means that if you don't put nothing in it, you're not going to get nothing out of it. So, therapy is more than you just coming and just talking to the therapist. And yes, there's a lot of therapists out there that would just love to come and just hear you talk week after week. And then you have other therapists like me. We going to do this. I'm going to give you 8 weeks. And after 8 weeks, we're going to start working on the work to get you better, the work for you to be a better person. And what does that look like? That's going to be a lot of assignments. That means there's some homework we're going to assign to you. There's some things that you're going to need to read. So there's going to be some gradual changes that you're going to have to make. And you're going to have to take baby steps with doing it. So your idea of me just going in and sitting down with a therapist and just talking about this, that, the next, or whatever, that's not realistic at all. I'm gonna get a little bit more deeper into that. I'm kind of getting off subject. Sorry about that. What type of therapist makes you comfortable? What gender, age, culture background, the religious alignment, and the language you prefer. And so that is very important to making sure that you have a therapist that you can connect with. And so most people think that, oh, I get a therapist and you got to be committed to that therapist. No, you don't. If there's no connection, then you don't need to be with that therapist because it's like y'all going against the grind. There is no connection at all. Okay, my phone was ringing. I'm sorry. There is no connection at all. And a lot of people don't know that you have a right to say, hey, I don't want you. I listen, I guarantee you, if you don't have a connection, that therapist, we know when there's not a connection. You need to have someone that will service you. And so meaning that you do they specialize in trauma? Like, what type of training do they have? Do they have any experience in working with trauma? Do they have experience working with children, teenagers, and adults? You know, what are you experiencing as far as when it comes down to depression, bipolar, PTSD? You know, what is it that you're needing? Is there a certain gender? Some people want male therapists, some people needs, female therapists, and some people it doesn't matter. Some people, they want someone from their culture. What is best for you? What is it that you're looking for when it comes down to a therapist? Some people want people that are, Christians, and that align up with the Christian faith. And I think one of the mess with everybody thinking that, okay, if you a therapist, you're not a believer. And that is not true. And not all therapists that are believers put a big old fishy sign on their door, have a big old poster saying, I'm a believer, I'm a believer. No, none of us don't do all of that. What you guys have to understand, because I know some people, especially from the religious background, it's like, oh, they got to be saved and they got to know the word of God and this and that. And that's good. And there's a lot of us that do. And there's a lot of us that are. But what you have to understand is that if we're not advertising that we're a Christian therapist, does not mean that we're not a believer. I don't advertise doing Christian therapy at all. And I am a believer. And the reason why is because I'm open to everyone. I'm open to whoever wants help. I'm open to it. And so there are some assessments, and I will get into that later, that you have to take in order for us to make sure that we giving you the best treatment. And there are questions that ask you about your faith. Are you religious? Are you spiritual? How important that is to incorporate that in your treatment. And so we as therapists, we can't never bring up the higher power. We can't bring up their name or anything, because that means that we are now infringing our personal bias on you. But baby, if you bring up Jesus Christ in the word and this is what you want and need, that's all we waiting for. We waiting for you to bring it up. We can't bring it up on our own. And if you don't never bring it up, we can't. But as soon as you bring it up, we're gonna incorporate whatever you need in that, and we will put it in there. We will incorporate that in there. That will be part of the guide in your treatment. So I just want to kind of make that clear for everybody because especially a lot of church people, that just like turns them off. But this is one of the reasons why I'm doing the podcast so we can get some understanding and some clarification about mental health and what that looks like and how you can get help. Um, One of the first steps that I also will encourage you guys to do is go to your primary care provider, your PCP. Schedule a checkup with them, discuss your mental health with them. They too will give you some assessments because they got to listen. And a lot of times, I don't even think any of y'all realize it, that when you go for your WellCare check every year, they give the same assessments. Some of them, most of the assessment as far as for anxiety, for depression, those assessments in there. That's why you're answering all them questions and discussing with them about your mental health and how it is impacting your day-to-day life, your quality of life. That is important. So what happens is that your PCP may recommend you to go see a therapist. Some of them do have a list of therapy therapists or community care agencies that they can recommend you to go get some help. Or if not, they will just tell you, hey, go Google it, go find, go on Google and see what you can find as far as that. But that's the first step of going to get help. The second step that you want to do, you want to contact your insurance provider. So whether you have Obamacare, now, that was the original nickname for it, but it's healthcare.gov. If you have that, a lot of those policies, insurance policies that you have do cover mental health. So making sure that you get a hold of your insurance company, see if they cover it and what do they cover. So it just all depends on the contract that they work out with the company that you work with. So some of them, they'll have where you don't have to meet a deductible. You just go in like you see your regular PCP and you just pay a co-payment. Now the co-payment can be zero from 50 to $100. You want to make sure how much that co-payment is. So that means that every time you go see your therapist, and if your therapist is on the insurance panel and it takes your insurance, you're going to have to pay a co-payment, and then the insurance will pay the rest of the balance after the co-payment. Some insurance companies, you have to meet a deductible before they will pay anything. So that means that if you have a deductible of 5,000, excuse me, 7,000 or 3,000, that has to be met first before they'll cover any of it. Some of them will only cover 70%, 60, 65. You'll still be responsible for 20 or 30% of that. That is very important to know before you go and, you know, uh, get a therapist. Like, okay, what am I responsible for? And how much is that going to be? Because you have to figure out if you can afford it or not. And I tell everybody this, you cannot not afford not to have a therapist, especially if you have insurance. So that means that you may gonna have to do some adjustments with your finances. You got to figure out what's important: getting my nails and hair done, going to go get a massage, going on 3 vacations a year, or now let me go on 1 vacation and do a staycation because I need to balance the finances out so I can make sure that I am mentally healthy and I can enjoy quality of life, a good quality of life. So making sure that you do call the insurance company and you get that information to see, how much they're going to pay and what you're responsible for is the next step. Some companies have employed assistant programs. And if your employee or your company that you work for have that, that means that a lot of them provide it for free or low cost to see a therapist. Now, when we're talking about employee assistant program, those are very limited services. So the type of the in-depth of the therapy that you're going to get is going to be different than what you would get if you actually going through your insurance company and you're seeing a therapist on a regular basis because they are limited. Some companies will do 10 sessions. I know one company does 3 sessions, and that's not a lot that you can get done in 3 sessions. You only can deal with a stressor. So when it comes to the employment assistance program, those type of services is only for when you're just dealing having an immediately a stressor going on that you need help with. If you're trying to dig deeper and do something different to help manage mental health symptoms that you may have on a daily basis, whether it's anxiety or depression, you really the employed assistance program the is not what you need. And I do encourage you to use them though. Like, hey, if they paying for 3 or 5, it's real good to use those up so you can get some type of psychoeducation about what's going on with you and have those talks. The next thing that you want to do is find some community resources. So there's the local health department, any nonprofit organization. I say this all the time. I don't care where you at on the social scale. I don't care how much money you have. When we dealing with small kids, community mental health is the best. And I'm not talking about something that I read. I'm talking about something that I was. I used to work for a community mental health agency. And when it comes down to the kiddos, I just believe that they need that whole wraparound. So when I say the whole wraparound, community mental health does more than just therapy. They also do case management. And case management are linking the family to resources that they may need. In case management, if you're doing rehab, not only is your child or teenager seeing a therapist, they also will see someone who specializes in behavior improvement, and we call that rehab. Meaning they'll come and help the child practice and reintegrate those coping skills that they're learning and being introduced to in their therapy session. So, take for instance, learning how to manage your and regulate your feelings and your emotion in a healthy manner. So a child has to learn those, and we could talk about it in therapy and go over it a couple of times. But what the rehab person will do, they'll come out, whether they at school, they'll pull them out of the class or sit with them in the class, or they come out to your house if they still have those services available, or they may meet up telehealth, but they'll go over those skills. So hey, there's different breathing skills. Let's do these breathing techniques, And it's kind of like going to practice, football practice, or basketball practice. So practicing those new skills and stuff, and just really having that connection, making sure that everything that the child needs is being met. And I just think that that's real good for a whole wraparound. I do private practice, and I do not take little kids because of that. Um I always send them to a mental health community mental health agency because they would get better service. Far as just me just doing, individual and maybe family, a couple of family sessions or whatever. So always look into though community mental health, especially if you don't have insurance, because a lot of those community mental health places are nonprofit organizations, and they do have a sliding scale. They get a lot of funding. So that sliding scale is based off your income. So if you don't have no income, then you either gonna not be paying a lot at all or none at all. And you can get those services that you need, whether it's therapy and medications. Now, if you want to take medications, that is up to you. It's what you want and not what people think or believe. I encourage everybody to have that conversation with your PCP when it comes down to medication. Medication is not a cure all. Medication only can manage for a certain amount of time. And then after so long, it doesn't do what it needs to do because your body has been immune to it. So I do know now we in the era where They are not just prescribing medication unless it is some severe mental illness that you need this medication. Those would be like bipolar, borderline personality, and schizophrenia, and those different personality disorders. Yeah, you whether you see it a therapist or not, you need medication for that. Everything else, medication is just to really help stabilize you until you kind of reset your brain and really learn those new coping skills, those coping mechanisms. So it's not there for you to, it shouldn't be forever, put it like that. But if that's something that you need forever, have that discussion with your doctor. I am not a doctor. So making sure that you go and have those sessions and discussions with them. But I do know a lot of them are not prescribing medication unless you are participating in therapy. Um, the different type of ways that you can go and look for people who has mental health, who is a mental health therapist, like me and many others. You can go on Psychology Today. With Psychology Today, you can put your preference in there. You can put the city, or you can just put the state. You can put if you want a female, a male. You can put, what race that you want, what sex. You put your insurance in there. And what it does, it filter everything out. And once you put all that information in, it pulls up everybody that meet your expectations and what you want. On Psychology Today, you can go through Open Path Collectives. Now, Open Path Collectives is a new program that's been out for a while. Like if you don't have insurance, but you still need mental health, Open Path has mental health therapists that's on their panels, and I'm one of those. And what they do is they're a sliding scale. So you can pay no less than $40 and no more than 80 is what the therapist can charge. So they can't go no lower than 40 and they can't go no more than $80, but that's the amount. And so the therapist decide what they're going to charge between those amount. And with open path collectives, there is a one-time lifetime fee that you have to pay, which is $65. Other than that, they'll connect you with someone who meets your criteria, what you're needing, your reference, your preference, and they will connect you that way. Another one that you can go to is therapist.com and look for therapy. From all my black women out there, we got therapy for black girls out there. There is a website for that. I do know that Taraji, I can't think of Taraji's last name, but we all know her. She played on Baby Boy. And she also did a couple of Tyler Perry movies. She has a go on her website, and she has a mental health thing that will connect you with different mental health therapists. Also, Megan the Stallion, she also has a thing on her website. She has a program that connects people with mental health. So I would encourage you guys to go and look on those. And then also your insurance company, whoever has insurance, you can always go and get a list of those therapists that's on the insurance panel. So just like, they give you that list where you go and look for a doctor, eye specialist or whatever. They also have that for mental health too. Um, you want to confirm your coverage that's under your plan. Also, making sure that you're getting how much you have to pay for co-payments, and then some of them do have a limit. So you want to see if there's only a limit, and some of them is just unlimited. So it just all depends on what your company that you work for, what their contract was when they set it up with that particular insurance company. Sliding scale. Many therapists adjust their fees on income, but don't hesitate to ask. Like when they ask me, "Hey, you got a sliding scale?" I'm like, "I use Open Path Collective," and they would have to go through that way. Other people will adjust their costs. you're gonna look to pay, depending on who it is, the minimum that I've seen is $50 and it can go up to 250 an hour. Just depending on what you're wanting, depending on what they specialize in. And I know you guys like, that's expensive. Oh, that's too much. No, it's really not. You are actually paying for the experience. You have someone that's educated, that's qualified, and that has a lot of experience in that and knows what they're doing. So, yeah, you only gonna get what you pay for. I'm just gonna say that you get what you pay for. But also, I'm not telling you to get something that you can't afford. You want to kind of balance that out too, so you don't want to go in bankruptcy because of that. Um, and just making sure that you can create writing down what your preferences are and just kind of create you a little short list of that and what type of therapist that you're looking at. Now, here are some of the questions when you're choosing a therapist. So this is what I do. I tell everybody this. Not all therapists do this, but I think it's very important. You want to find somebody who have a free consultation. I do free 15-minute consultations. And the reason why is because I'm not everybody therapist. I'm not called to everybody. And it's very important to me that I have a connection and that we're a good fit. Not only that, I think that it's also important that you know what is expected from you doing therapy. And then I need to understand what it is that you want. And so making sure that you find someone who does a free consultation. So therefore, what that's going to do, that's going to cut off a lot of time of you going through a whole bunch of intakes. Like, oh yeah, I'll take you. You do all these assessments because there's a lot of assessments and doing the intake and you answering all these questions, you telling them what's going on, and y'all go through all that. And after the first session, two or three, you're like, I don't know about this one. I don't know if I'm comfortable. I don't like this and like that. And then it's like you got to keep going through that again until you find the right fit. So to help cut some of that down, do consultations. Making sure if this is somebody, a therapist you didn't read a little about, let me do a consultation with them. If they don't offer it, just send them a message and say, hey, I didn't see anywhere where you offer consultation. Is there any way that I can get a consultation with you? Because I think that's very important. And if so, they will provide it. But I do 15-minute consultations. And when you do find that person that does consultations, these are the questions that you want to answer. What's your experiences working, with your clients? Like, what type of experience are you wanting them to have? Are you looking for someone that specializes in trauma? Are you wanting someone who use the EMDR, the rapid eye movement, intervention? Someone that specializes in anxiety and depression. Like, what is it that you're looking for? And you answer those questions. And what are the different type of interventions do they use? Like I said, EMDR, CBT, psychodynamic therapy. There are different type of interventions, and which one are you using? um what is your approach to treatment? What is it structure? Is it flexible? Those are some questions that you want to learn. What are your fees? If it's a sliding scale option, what is your availability? Answering all those are very important questions that you need to answer in order to figure out if this going to be the right therapist for you. Um, One of the things that I had to learn, because I used to, when I first got started doing private practice, I didn't do consultations probably the first month. And then I had to start doing them. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why, because when I worked in community mental health, we don't get to do consultations at all. You just get whoever they give you. And then after so long, if it's like not a good fit or is a struggle, then you got to go find another therapist or someone that you can transfer him to that may be a better fit. So I was just so used to doing that. But my therapy approach, I'm a straight shooter. I'm not mean, but I'm very straight shooter. It's black and white. And yeah, that's what we dealing with. because I just believe that you have to have a clear path of where you want to go. And the only way to do that is that you got to deal with those truths. And so, because I'm a straight shooter, everybody doesn't like that approach. Some people want somebody that's a little bit, mild or whatever. And that's good because what I won't do is switch up my style because it's just me. That's a part of my personality. And so that's why it's important for you to have that talk because you may not need or feel comfortable or want a straight shooter. You probably want a different approach. So that's one of the main reasons, too, why you should have that 15-minute consultation so you can see what is the approach. And when we talk about what is the structure of therapy and the flexibility and stuff, I am very structured, but what you guys have to understand that you are the expert of your life. You know what you want, you know what you need. And what the therapists do, they give you those tools to help you be your best you. They're going to give you a different lens, a different perspective to see in yourself, any situations in the world through. But you know what you need to navigate. You know how you want to navigate that. And that's fine. In therapy, you should have a voice. So it should never look like, okay, you go see the therapist, you got to do the assessments because we got to have a diagnosis. And after you do the diagnosis, it'd be like some therapists be like, okay, this is your diagnosis, this is what you do, this, and that. Okay, well, I'm gonna do your treatment plan, and next week we're gonna start with A, probably about a month, and then we'll go to B. You don't want that type of therapist. You want a therapist where you have a voice. I'm going to say this a million times. You are the expert of your life. You're supposed to have a voice. No one is supposed to tell you what you're going to do. You're supposed to verbalize what you want. And that means that you know what your goals are. So if you're having a hard time figuring out your goals, your therapist can assist you with that and help you with that. And a lot of times, if you know what your goals are, you just tell the therapist and we'll just put it down in professional terms. The next thing, as far as I kind of got off, but I'm gonna stay on this for a minute. The reason why it's very important that you have a therapist that is listening to you and you guys are working together because if you don't have that, you're going to waste time and money because it's not what you're wanting. And it should always be what you want. And most people like, I just want peace. I just want to just not worry so much. Okay. Well, we can work on that. That's what you want. It's not what your therapist tell you what you need or want. Is that's what you want? That's what the focus is going to be. So never allowing the therapist to be the driver. You be the driver. It's kind of like going to driver's ed. You in class and then you gotta go out on the road and the teacher is in this seat and the student is in this seat. And if you kind of like in a dangerous situation or whatever, the instructor got a break that they can break or whatever, but they're kind of guiding you through it. Like you want to go to the store, the driver want to go to the store, but you want to go to the mall. You in the driver's seat. This is your life, so you're gonna go to the mall. Not where the driver wants you to go. You're gonna go to the mall. While you on the way to the mall, the driver is there to assist you getting there safely. That's what therapy should look like for you. I want to be in a place of peace. I don't want to be worrying all the time. I'm having ruminating thoughts and stuff. I want to decrease those. And so just letting them know what it is that you want, but y'all work together. You collaborate together with your treatment plan. We'll go over that later, but there is a treatment plan that you're going to have to do. Um, so after doing this call, you want to evaluate. That means you want to see if they're listening to you during this 15-minute consultation. Did they explain their approach to you with clarity? So you're not leaving there with a million questions like, oh, I got all these questions. I have no idea. Or do you feel comfortable with their communication style? That's another way too of you learning their communication style. And so just figuring that out and seeing what that is. So after you do that, here are some more tips for making it work. Therapy, I just said this a couple of minutes ago, it is not a quick fix process. The process may take time. So you're going to have to be open and honest. Even when you guys are not honest, the therapist knows. Some of us like me will call it out and some of them won't. They'll let it slide. Now I'm calling it all out. So it's very important. And know that when you are in a therapy session, this is the beauty of it that people don't know is that anything that you and your therapist talk about, that's between you and your therapist. The therapist cannot go and tell none of your business. Now, unless there's allegations of child abuse, elderly abuse, or if there's a safety issue, by law, we do have to report those things. Other than that, what you and your therapist say stays within that wall. Now you can go and run and tell whoever you want, but the therapist can't. So look at it like this. How many of y'all scared to go get a therapist, but y'all sit down and talk to your sister, your cousin, your friend, and y'all sharing some most deep, intimate details of some challenging moments or situations that you had experienced or are in the process, and you thinking that it's safe with you, with them, and then a week or two later, everybody in your family and the whole community know your business. And now y'all angry, and now it just severs any relationships. That's why you need to go see a therapist. We can't do that. So yeah, it is safe. We can't do that. Let's see. What else are we gonna hit up? Because I know we're getting close to time. Making sure that you sharing your thoughts and your feelings and making sure they're the very real things. And even when it's uncomfortable, making sure that you share. Being consistent is the number one thing. You have to come to therapy and you have to be consistent with it. And the more consistent you are, the better the trust will be between you and your therapist and the momentum. Unless it's necessary, do not skip your sessions. And when I say being consistent is doing that homework too. And whatever extra work that your therapist is giving you, making sure that you do that. I tell everybody this, you cannot continue to do the same thing and expect to change. That's insanity. That's what Einstein said. So if you want to change, you have to change what you're doing. And the change does not start in the behavior, the change starts in the mind. You have to change your thinking pattern. And until that thinking pattern changes, nothing else will change. So I can do something different for like maybe a short period of time. And after that, I revert back to my behaviors that I've always done. And the reason why is because, and we'll go over this in parenting, but those first 7 years of your life is very important. It's your brain defaulting. So if you're going through a lot of stress, living through a lot of trauma, those first 7 years of your life, the default of your brain is not going to be healthy. And so in the way that you think about yourself and the world, none of that's going to be healthy. So the brain always default back to what it knows. It always do what it knows. So the challenge is always in your thinking. You change your thinking, everything else will come in line. And it's not easy. It is not an overnight task, neither, I'm telling you. Um, Defining your goals, just making sure that when you in that 15-minute consultation that you're clear about your goals. And what the therapist is going to do after that is once you decide it's a goer, then you'll go into a whole bunch of assessments that you have to take. But growth happens gradually, and celebrate all victories, whether they small or big. I've had a client that I'm so proud. This client started with me last summer. We started out the first week. The first couple of weeks we did one session. And then after that 2 weeks, the client was like, I need more than one session a week. So we went from one session to two session. And then there was times where we would literally do 3 sessions a week. But this client was doing the work that needed to be done, doing the reading, working the worksheets, looking at things in a different light, getting to the root of it, learning the healthy ways to manage their emotions. So this started in the summer, and now we're at twice a month and really getting ready to go to once a month because this client did the work that they needed to do. It's not easy, it's not hard, but the client needed and wanted the change and they did the work. So I just want you guys to know that if you even if you in therapy now and you don't feel like that there's it's not helping, these are the things that you have to look at. You have to say the first thing you want to look at is you. Am I doing what I need to do? Am I doing the work? Am I being real and truthful about this? The second thing that you want to look at is your connection with your therapist. Is there a connection? Because you can start off with a connection and then you can lose it. And sometimes the therapist can only take you as far as they can take you, and then you stagnant, meaning I've been stuck in this spot in this space and we haven't moved. That means that you probably need another therapist. And that's okay. Because most of us therapists know when I've taken you so far. I have had several talks with clients. Hey, I've been taking you as far as I can take you. We need to look into finding you another therapist. And that's good. That's not a bad thing because they're not supposed to be with you for life anyway. So making sure that you're doing those things. And that is pretty much it that I can think of right now. Um I do want to reiterate there are some things that we do need to overcome as far as the barriers that you will have in therapy. And some of those are once again the fear, the judgment, and the stigma, financial concerns, not finding the right therapist immediately. All those things can be something that can kind of like deter you from to keep looking and getting the help. Don't let it deter you. I always say this: the valuable things are the ones that are hidden. And so if they're hitting and it's taking you a long time to find it, don't give up because when you find it, that's the one that you need. They're more valuable than all the other ones. So stay consistent. If you guys have any questions, remember to send those questions in so that I can answer them. I hope this podcast was a good help, but I'm going to encourage you guys to go do your homework, go and get help. Everybody need a therapist. And for all the religious people out there, we need a therapist and Jesus. It's okay to have a therapist and Jesus, you guys, okay? All right. Have a good one. Have a good day. And as Tabitha Brown would say, if you're not having a good day, don't you go mess up somebody else's day. You go home and put yourself in timeout.